All right, as I said last night, whether you want more renewables in the system or less, one thing's clear, Australia needs more gas. And we've got plenty of gas. We have absolutely plenty of gas. It's just that most of our government, state and federal, are doing their level best to keep it in the ground or expect it overseas. Do not buy this idea that we do not have gas, that we've got some shortage. We've got supply constraints, not a shortage. And right now, anyone who wants to develop gas in this country, well, they are drowned in red tape, or that they're at the other crazy end, as we've seen in Victoria, where they want to import that gas from elsewhere rather than use what they have. Let's unscramble the energy egg with one of the best around, MST Financial Senior Energy Analyst, Saul Kavonik. So welcome. We're going to start with gas because gas has been everywhere in the last couple of days. What on earth, or how on earth have we got to the position where Victoria, rich in gas, is going to build a very expensive import gas terminal to then ship the gas from somewhere else in the country, maybe even overseas, and then put it on the port and back into supply in the state? Why can't they use their own gas out of the ground?
Well, a lot of the irony of this is it's been the Victorian government who's been vetoing having any discussion about gas in the ministerial council meetings over the last few years, only to now at the last minute ambush everyone demanding support for an import terminal to make up for years of hostility towards any gas development in Victoria. I'm hearing industry folks referring to Lily D'Ambrosio as lights out Lily. And what's crazy about importing LNG is it's not just higher cost, it's also higher emissions. So for the state of Victoria, which is so focused on decarbonisation and green policies, they're now resorting to looking to have taxpayer-funded higher emissions, higher cost gas imported into their state rather than using what's under the ground that they have there themselves.
Yeah, I laughed when you said lights out Lily D'Ambrosio, but I shouldn't laugh because it'll be my lights out in Victoria because that's where I live. Explain for people in other states who listen and are watching this train wreck in Victoria across so many fronts, why should they care if they're in Brisbane or WA, or WA's on a separate grid, let's say South Australia or Sydney, and they say, it doesn't really apply to me, I'm not going to live in Victoria, it's a basket case. Why should they worry about what's happening down south?
Well, unfortunately, the market's interconnected. So Victoria's failures, and I must say New South Wales has had very similar failures as well, have implications for other states. So there's a threefold impact here. The first one is taxpayer-funded imports. The Victorian government's looking to force that onto federal coffers, so we're all going to end up paying for it. And just to be clear, this isn't just a few $100 million commitment. To actually have an import terminal, you're looking at not just a few $100 million for the terminal itself, but you're going to have to start importing gas year-round, buying on an international market, selling on the local market, just to keep that tank full, plus upgrades to the gas infrastructure and domestic storage. You put that together, it's a multi-billion-dollar taxpayer commitment, plus it results in higher prices in Victoria, which is connected through the NEM into the rest of the market. So you end up with higher price marker across the market. An example would be in late 2022, when Labor imposed the gas price cap of $12, it ended up not being a cap, but a floor. And even though it really only impacted the Queensland projects in terms of the way it was fundamentally designed, we've seen the prices go up higher across the entire eastern seaboard as a result.
We also saw yesterday from Victoria, but this will be replicated right around the country. They budgeted about $4 billion for the poles and wires to get renewable energy, which will be sparsely located in geography areas around the states, to the market areas where, you've got urban populations who'll need the supply. They got it wrong, really, really wrong, like $20 billion wrong. I mean, this is where I guess the Prime Minister and Chris Bowen are absolutely negligent. Nowhere have we, the taxpayer, been given a plan that says, here are all the elements that go into net zero, and here at the bottom of Australia is what you will be required to spend either as a taxpayer or passed on to you as a power user for all of this. So when they say it's going to be 4 and it's going to be 20, it'll be like that everywhere. I mean, the costs here are astronomical.
Well, it's not all just incompetence, Peter. I think the issue is it's very deliberate hiding of costs, and it all stems from the root of the targets we're setting, whether they're decarbonisation targets or renewable energy targets. The basis of these targets is, for example, a political desire to phase out coal by an arbitrary date. They're not actually based on what is, on a logistical basis, achievable when you look at it from the ground up to actually roll out the investment needed to replace coal. And so when you've got an artificial fairy tale target and it's impossible to meet, then you start facing all these infrastructure log jams. And what you're seeing here with these blowing up of infrastructure cost estimates is just part of that. And there's huge infrastructure constraints in the engineering, procurement, and construction sector, particularly for poles and wires. There's not a lot of competition in a really hot sector. Those numbers, which you've already mentioned, which are 4 or 5 times blowouts versus the previous estimates, I can guarantee you they're going to end up higher still, because none of this has actually been planned through in the details to deliver.
And you're going to wonder why. And we heard those words from the boss of Santos, you know, that we are like North Korea in terms of an investment profile. Why the heck you put your money in Australia has got me buggered. I'll leave it there. Saul Kavonik, thank you.